Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Record Scratch Podcast, the probably most likely monthly podcast where we talk about music, movies, TV, and video games. My name is Garrett. This month we'll be talking about our top 5 albums of all time, High School Musical, and more. I'm joined by my friend, the guy who does not like swimming pools, the bearded baddie, Johan.
What about swimming pools?
You don't like swimming pools.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So before we get into our picks for our top 5 albums, you said that you're a bit of a fan of High School Musical?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say a bit, or you could say a lot. That's fine.
Which movie from the series is your favorite one?
Definitely the second one.
How well do you know the lyrics from all 3 of the movies?
I know the lyrics really well for like a few of the songs and probably really poorly for the rest of them.
So I've prepared a challenge for you.
Okay.
I'm going to read you lyrics from a few of the songs spanning from the whole series of High School Musical. All you need to do is tell me the name of the song.
Sure.
You know the world can see us in a way that's different than who we are, creating space between us till we're separate hearts.
Okay, I know the song is playing in my head. I know what it is, but I can't remember the name. Is it the one at the very beginning? No. What's the name of that song?
So that was Breaking Free.
Man, this is going to go so poorly.
Number 2. I've got to move on and be who I am. I just don't belong here. I hope you understand we might find our place in this world someday, but at least for now.
Oh, that's the one that Vanessa Hudgens sings. Gotta go your own way or whatever. Gotta go our own way.
I'm going to give it to you. It's Gotta Go My Own Way.
There we go.
Yay! Oh, here. Yeah! You can bet there's nothing but net when I'm in a zone and on a roll. But I've got a confession.
Oh, that's Status Quo. I told you I know some of the songs really well.
Did you ever lose yourself to get what you want? Did you ever get on a ride, then want to get off?
Bet on it or scream?
That was Bet on It. You were right.
Oh, sick, okay.
Gimme, gimme, shimmy, shimmy, shake some booty and turn around. Flash a smile in their direction. Show some muscle.
Bop to the top.
Yes. Wildcats everywhere. Wave your hands up in the air. That's the way we do it. Let's get to it. Come on, everyone.
Well, that's the song at the end of the movie. We're all in this together?
Yes.
Nailed it. Nice.
It's just time to show how to be a superhero. Just like a showdown. Will Smith and Bobby De Niro. We're the best, no doubt, doing it like we used to do. This is our time, and I'm telling you all.
I have no idea. There's a song that they talk about Will Smith?
Yeah, and Bobby De Niro.
It must be in the third movie.
You don't know this one? This is The Boys Are Back.
Oh, that sucks because I love that song.
A long time ago, in a land far away, lived the pineapple princess Tiki. She was sweet as a peach in a pineapple way, but so sad that she hardly speaky.
I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, I think, but it's Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apot Y or whatever.
Yeah. Last one. Now who'd have ever thought that we'd both be here tonight, and the world look so much brighter with you by my side? I know that something has changed. Never felt this way.
Every day.
No.
Damn.
That is start of something new.
Of course it started something new. Just call it 100%.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, sure. You won.
Nice.
So I had asked you to prepare a list of your top 5 albums. So how I feel this should go is I'll read my number 5, and then we'll jump to you, and you'll read your number 5, and we'll just keep bouncing back like that.
Before we start, I have 3 that I can 100% say are in my top favorite albums, and then I got like 6 or 7 that aren't just like random notes.
I have a couple honorable mentions on mine as well, and then mine is constantly changing, so like this is only slightly accurate.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I don't really think about albums at all when I'm listening to music at all either. So this is like kind of a challenge already, but I did my best, which is why I have 3 plus some other ones. Most of the time I only listen to an album like once or twice and then just listen to individual songs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of the exact opposite of that. I like to listen to an album front to back multiple times. So my number 5 pick was Homesick from A Day to Remember. It's their 3rd album. They released it in February of 2009. So what I really like about this album is A Day to Remember is kind of a band that they don't stick to just one genre. They're kind of a pop punk band, but they also blend in a lot of heavier metal elements into their music. So when I was first like getting into kind of pop punk and stuff, I used to listen to exclusively like heavy metal stuff. So I was listening to a lot of Lamb of God and Heaven Shall Burn, stuff like that. Then my sister went to Warped Tour one year and she brought home the CD. And it had Day to Remember on it, which kind of blended like punk and metal. The album really spoke to me and my musical tastes and kind of broadened that horizon for me. So my favorites off of this album are I'm Made of Wax, Larry, What Are You Made Of? Which is a Night at the Museum quote. It's just kind of a perfect blend of pop punk and metal. I think it defines a lot of what A Day to Remember is all about. Mr. Highway's Thinking About the End is just a straight up heavy metal song, very well known for its classic breakdown call out, disrespect your surroundings. And then If It Means a Lot to You is kind of the exact opposite of that, which is just a acoustic song featuring vocals from Sierra Custerbeck of Versa Merge. So that's my number 5. What would yours be?
Jekyll and Hyde from Zac Brown Band.
Oh, okay.
Which is, in my opinion, their best album. And it's also genre mixing, I guess, but they don't really mix the genres in the songs. It's the same thing where like it starts with a few classical country songs, then moves on to like a jazz song, which is unexpected from Zac Brown Band. And then you have Heavy as the Head, which is like a rock song. And they do have some other rock songs in their other albums, like Unchained. The rest of it is still like more country and then some more like island Caribbean style stuff. And then ends with just an acoustic song. I guess an acoustic version of one of their other songs. I just think it's a really good album, start to back. Them switching genres definitely stops it from being too samey and like exactly what we were talking about before.
Like a lot of the poppier country stuff, and then, yeah, like Mango Tree, that kind of jazzy, islandy tune. It's a very well-rounded album. For number 4, I chose The Emptiness from a band called Alisana, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that's what I've always called them.
Yeah.
So The Emptiness is their third album. And it's actually the first in a series of concept albums that they did. It's thematically based on Edgar Allan Poe's final poem that he wrote, which was Annabel Lee. I haven't read much of his stuff, apart from like what they made us read back when I was in school, but I like the dark kind of horror aesthetic that he always kind of has.
I love Edgar Allan Poe.
The story of the album, it follows a character that we just know as the artist, and it follows his descent into madness after he wakes up to his dead wife, who is also named Annabelle, as kind of an Easter egg towards the Edgar Allan Poe influence. The album's got a really dark, creepy kind of undertone to it, but somehow you can still kind of relate to the songs. The album is pretty heavy, with some really heavy screaming, and then some lighter, almost feminine vocals from the other singer, whose name is Sean. And it just kind of provides you a nice contrast, which kind of just feeds into that kind of horror genre.
Perfect for Halloween.
Yeah, right? Favorite songs on this one are Curse of the Virgin Canvas, which is the intro to the album, kind of sets the tone for what to expect. They wrote a book to accompany the album.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so the intro to it kind of starts with the singer reading the book out loud before just an explosive metal song takes over. Then we've got Heavy Hangs the Albatross, which is kind of your midway point through the album and just shows kind of how far down the artist has fallen while he's faced with the decision of ending his own life and taking down an entire village with him.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. It gets really dark.
That sounds pretty cool. I love a good album that tells a story as it progresses.
To be honest, like all of my picks on this album, with the exception of that first one, they're all concept albums, so they all kind of do that exact same thing. I'm a sucker for a good concept album.
For sure.
What's your number 4?
My favorite thing about this is how completely different our lists are going to be. So I'm going to, I guess, move on to one of the other ones that I know for sure is on this list. I really should have picked random ones for the 4 and 5, because really 3, 4, and 5 are going to be the ones that I know for sure are on my favorite album list, and my 1 and 2 are going to be ones that I pick randomly. So my list isn't in order.
Oh, okay. I got you. You kind of did reverse of what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with, and I hope this is allowed, the Hamilton soundtrack. I said I would listen to albums once or twice. I've listened through this thing probably 10 times. Like, I knew every single word before it came out on Disney Plus. You should have made, instead of doing High School Musical, you should have done Hamilton, and I would have nailed it, like 100%.
Next time.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a really well-made musical. I think the lyrical writing is really well done. The motifs that it follows through the entire thing is really well done. And like, just like some of the rhymes that you go throughout the story are like really intense and like really good wordplay and shit like that, you know?
Right, yeah.
I don't know, have you watched Hamilton since it came out?
So I like musicals, but I'm not like huge into musicals.
I was never into musicals. Like, I enjoyed a few of them, and I guess I had seen some as well. Like, I had basically only seen like Grease.
Right.
But then Hamilton had just like pulled me in, and I would just like, I listen to like Broadway music all the time now.
Yeah, like Hamilton, I really liked that there's like a lot of hip hop elements into like some like historical piece. It's really strange, and I love it.
It was a great gateway for a lot of people. I just think it's neat.
Yeah, no, me too. I had no idea who Hamilton was before I heard about the Broadway. I had no idea about any of that.
There was a phase when I first started listening to it where I would just like listen to half the musical before bed, and then the next day I'd listen to the other half before bed, and then that was just like how I spent my evenings.
Right.
I do like the way that they framed, this is just talking about the musical, I guess, and not really about the music. I like the way they framed the musical to be like a metaphor for Black oppression as well. Like, they made all of the American revolutionaries Black and all the British oppressors white.
Good catch, actually. I didn't even really notice that.
What's your next one?
It's kind of a different album from the rest. This one is Skin and Earth from Lights, going completely away from the genre I've already been talking about, which is kind of the metal pop-punk scene, and going into the electro-pop scene. This album is from Lights, again another concept album. She wrote a comic book for it. The story for this one follows N as she becomes entangled with a dark spiritual friend and puts her on a journey that can alter the course of the whole world. It's set in a world where corporations rule and the Earth's pollution has gotten entirely out of control. So it's kind of a cool concept for the album. I haven't gotten a chance to read through the entire comic, so I'm not 100% sure on where the story goes. Because what's really cool about the way she did this album is it kind of can stand alone as its own piece of art if you don't really want to follow the story. Like, the songs relate to the real world as well. So Lights, I kind of got into just a couple of years ago. She's done features with a lot of the bands that I listened to back when, well, way back in the day, such as bands like Silverstein, and she's actually married to the vocalist of a band I listened to called Bless the Fall. So I was kind of aware of her. Also, growing up in Canada, she gets a bit of radio play out here. But then when I heard Giants, there was just something different about that song compared to her earlier work. So I decided to kind of check out this album. Some of the best songs on this one are Savage, which is an electric guitar centered, almost a straight up rock song, something that you just wouldn't expect from her. Then you've got Moonshine, which is just a straight up pop banger.
I had no idea that Lights made like pop punk music.
She never really made pop punk music. She did features with like pop punk artists, but she didn't ever release like her own.
Maybe we should check out this album. I think Lights is like a really good singer. None of her singles I ever heard like really grabbed me.
Right.
Maybe we should check out her features.
The one I was kind of referencing here from Silverstein is called The End. That's on one of Silverstein's concept albums as well. It's a pretty good one. It's a long song though.
How long is it? Like 10 minutes or like 5?
It's about 7 minutes.
7?
Long.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it comes right at the end of the album, so there's a lot of like narrative exposition.
Okay, well the next one I have on my list is Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion.
Okay.
It's her third album. Came out about 5 years ago. 2015 just had its anniversary release thing, special release thing. I don't know. She released 2 new songs on it. This is 100% her best album. It is amazing front to back. Her second album. I always forget about her first album because like, I don't know, she wasn't famous, I guess, and it's kind of weird. No offense, Carly Rae. The songs, they don't sound too similar. Again, we're talking about that. There's enough change of pace between each one that it's good. And then, of course, there's the bonus tracks, which are also good. And then the 2, quote, new songs are good. And then she released a B-side, which is full of a bunch more great songs. My favorite songs from this album, I really like Run Away With Me, the first track. It's just like great driving song.
With Carly Rae, I've always kind of found her a little bit bubblegummy, if you know what I mean, and like overproduced, but I do remember hearing Run Away With Me, and it's not like that at all.
That's kind of what I was trying to say about her first album or second album, is that it's very like, it's super, super overproduced. And I still like it. Like, I'm not going to say it's bad or anything.
Right, yeah. There's nothing wrong with, like, a good overproduced pop song.
This album, it kind of like does away with that. It feels a lot more simple, I guess I could say.
Like, genuine.
Genuine's a good word to describe it. Listening to her and then listening to K-pop, they do kind of have some similar vibes.
She got that kawaii vibe.
So the songs that released with the 5-year anniversary were Never Get to Hold You and Love Again, which I think were both also very good and also different enough from the rest of the album to stand out. That's that. It's a good album. Listen to it.
I will do that. I do remember kind of skimming through it back when it came out. I can't believe it's already been 5 years, actually. That's wild.
Yeah, it makes me feel old to think about that. So I was like, I remember when I Really Like You hit the radio.
Oh, yeah. Jeez, that song. I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart when that song came out. Oh, my God. They played it every day. And I just got so sick of it.
Nice. Speaking of that song, I Really Like You, the music video is really good.
Yeah, it's got Tom Hanks, right?
Literally the best thing that could have happened is just putting Tom Hanks in a music video.
I mean, yeah. Like, why not?
What's your next one?
Number 2 album is American Idiot from Green Day.
Oh, that's a good one.
So this is actually Green Day's 7th album.
Really?
Yeah.
What was their first album?
Oh, shit.
Okay, I can look it up.
Yeah. So the story behind this album is actually really interesting. So American Idiot was recorded in 2003. However, they had originally set out to record an album titled Cigarettes and Valentines. However, after they completed about 20 demo tracks, their masters for that album got stolen from their studio and were lost.
Oh.
So after the loss of these masters, the band approached Rob Cavallo, again, sorry if I mispronounced that name, who also happens to produce my number 1 pick, which we'll get into later. He asked the band if the songs that were stolen represented their best work, and it appears that the band decided that they didn't. So they spent 3 months writing brand new material and a whole new album, and that was the story of how American Idiot was written.
That really sucks that they lost the entire other album.
Right.
Also, their first album was released in 1990. It was called 39/Smooth.
Right, yeah. I have heard that. It's kind of a rough recording.
I bet.
This album, it kind of holds a special place for me, as it was kind of my first exposure to, and I'm going to do some air quotes, punk rock.
They were sort of on the transition between regular punk and like modern pop punk.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of punk fans don't like to give Green Day the credibility of being a punk band. However, Green Day actually started out as a DIY punk band, playing shows with all of those, again, air quotes, real punk bands in the late 80s and early 90s. And they also do a lot of work preserving old punk rock venues. Like there's a legendary venue in Berkeley called Gilman Street. That's where Green Day really got their start, and they do a lot of work to preserve those old venues for newer punk bands to come up and still get that opportunity. But yeah, so I heard this album when I was in 4th grade. Hadn't really formed my own musical tastes or opinions. But when I heard American Idiot, I was kind of hooked on the fast, simple guitar riffs. Obviously, the lyrics went completely above my head when I was a kid. I didn't care about politics or anything.
And now here we are today, and you're just a little punk rock boy.
Yeah, so my favorites on this album are Jesus of Suburbia, which is a 9-minute track. It's actually composed of 5 shorter songs that all come together into one cohesive narrative-driven song. Homecoming, which is very similar to Jesus of Suburbia. It's also a 9-minute song composed of 5 smaller tracks. And then St. Jimmy is a much shorter song, just under 3 minutes long, and it's just pure punk rock riffs, fast-paced, and just makes you want to go hang out in a parking lot and smash bottles or something.
They also have a special Japanese release track on this album.
Okay, yeah, I have never heard that song.
Yeah, there's a song called Favorite Son.
Shit.
Which is apparently a bonus track on Japanese release. I do really like Green Day. I really like, what's that album called? I think it's Dookie?
Dookie, yeah. So, yeah. After I heard American Idiot, I checked out, obviously, more Green Day than Dookie. I got on... Did you ever burn CDs when you were a kid?
I did a few, yeah.
So, me and my friend were just trying to figure out how to do that. And I don't know how we managed to just mess it up this bad, but we ended up putting the entire album onto one track.
Oh.
So I couldn't like skip through the songs because it was just one 40-minute long track on the burnt CD. And that was my experience with Dookie.
Pretty sure I've definitely done that before as well.
Yeah, I have no idea how we managed to do that.
Is that like last week?
No.
Yeah, off this album, I really like Holiday.
Right.
That's a fun song. And then obviously Wake Me Up in September. This is classic.
When I was younger, I went to one of my family's wedding. I'm not going to mention their names, but I kept bugging the DJ all night to play Holiday by Green Day. And then when he finally did it, some dudes that weren't invited to the wedding crashed it, and there was just a big like fight at this wedding while Green Day was playing in the background.
How old were you?
I want to say this was in like 2006.
Okay, so like 12.
Yeah.
And there's like this little 12-year-old that's like, hey, DJ, play Green Day. And then he does, and a fight breaks out.
Yeah. Some people that just weren't invited to the wedding crashed it. And, yeah. But now whenever I hear Holiday, that's the memory that just sticks in my mind.
Oh, that's sweet. That's fun. Okay, the next one I'm going to pick from my list, I'm going to say I've written down something by Taylor Swift because I couldn't think of a specific album when I was making my list because she has a lot of great albums. My favorite of which is Speak Now. I was listening to yesterday, actually, because I figured I haven't listened to it in a long time. I might as well just listen through the album. And it's just like, it's a good album. Originally, it was going to be called, I think it was Enchanted. I think they were originally going to name it Enchanted, and then they changed it later into the release schedule. I'm not sure.
Do you know, was that like a record label decision, or was that her decision?
I have no idea. I just like piece of trivia that I saw online sometime. But this album does suffer from the issue of it starting to sound kind of samey after a while.
Right.
But it does break it up enough that it does stay interesting. So it starts with Mine, which is a more not super upbeat, but sort of upbeat song, and then kind of like slows it down.
Okay, gotcha.
Back to December, good slow song. Dear John, which is another slow song. And then it picks it up again. Story of Us, really fast paced. Better Than Revenge, fast paced. Haunted, fast paced. Haunted also has like a nice grand like violin track in the background. That's really cool.
Oh, I love it when that happens in a song.
Instead of just being like guitars and like country fiddle, it's like a big production.
Right.
Do you want to pull up my Taylor Swift album ranking list? Because I do have that as well. So I pulled it up, and immediately I didn't see Speak Now at number 1, and I was like, oh no, did I miss Speak? But no, number 1 I have is Speak Now.
I just lied.
At number 2 I have 1989.
Okay. I think that would be number 1 for a lot of people.
I think it would be number 1 for a lot of people, honestly. It's like not her first step into pop, but her first album that was labeled pop.
Yeah, that was the first like fully pop.
Yeah, even
album.
though Red was like 99% pop, but it was still listed under country. Number 3, I put Folklore, her newest album.
Oh, okay.
Which honestly might actually be number 1.
Really? I found it to get very boring. I liked a lot of the songs on it.
On Folklore?
Yeah, trying to listen to the whole thing, it was kind of...
I could agree it's kind of a drag to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But individually, the songs really stand out, I think.
Yeah, it's a good album to kind of like turn on if you're sitting by a fire or something, having some drinks, and it's just kind of there as background noise.
I think the reason I don't have it at number, like, any higher than number 3 is because listening to the whole thing is kind of meh. But individually, if you were just like...
Yeah, like, just to pick and choose a song, it's pretty good.
Like, I think it has some of her best songs on it, but altogether, it's fine. Okay, number 4, this is probably a hot take, is Reputation.
Oh, okay. Didn't like Edgy Taylor too much?
Well, I mean, it's in her top... I have it in the top half.
I guess, yeah.
I did like Edgy Taylor. I was into it. It was, like, super overproduced pop.
All right.
And then I have Fearless, her second album. I think it's just a good, like, classic Taylor album.
Right.
And then Lover, which I think is mostly fine. A couple of her best. Like, I think Lover's a really good song. But I also think The Archer from that album is her worst song.
Oh, okay. So kind of polarizing for you.
Yeah, I actually, like, genuinely dislike the song. And then at 7, I have Red, which I think is a hot take that it's that low.
I would agree with that because if I were writing Taylor Swift albums, like I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I do enjoy Taylor Swift.
I don't love it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think any of her albums are necessarily bad. I just like it less than the rest of them. Last, I have her first album, Taylor Swift. This is the only album I would say that might be bad, but it's not good.
What songs are on that album?
First single release, Teardrops on My Guitar.
Right.
They've got Love Song. No, Our Song.
Yeah.
Tim McGraw. I take back what I said. It is a good album. I just think it's the worst of her albums.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. She had a lot of success with that album.
She forces herself into country too much with that album.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can hear it in some of those songs. Her voice wasn't really well developed. Yeah.
Okay, what are we on now? Your number one album of all time?
This is my number one album of all time. This hasn't changed for probably about 5 years. And that goes to The Black Parade from My Chemical Romance.
Welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah. Of course, my little emo self would put this one on here.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So this is their third album, recorded in the summer of 2006 and released in October of that same year, which is actually pretty impressive. Just a few months of recording and then put the record out. That doesn't happen too often. So this album has just so many good tracks on it, and it's responsible for a massive burst of popularity for not only the band, but also like the entire alternative music scene. I think if this album never came out, a lot of the bands that I listen to wouldn't exist. So this album, like most of the others on my list, is a concept album which follows the protagonist known as the patient as he struggles with an increasingly worsening cancer, which ultimately leads to his death. The album tells the story about his journey to the afterlife and the memories of the life he lived. When death finally comes for him, it comes in the form of a parade, which is where the name The Black Parade comes from. I believe culturally, The Black Parade also has some ties to some other cultures. I didn't research too much into that, but this record, I think, showed that My Chemical Romance wasn't just like a one-off band who had a couple hit songs on their previous album, which was also a great album, by the way. I think this album really solidified them as where they are today, which is they're basically legends at this point. Like I said before, there's a lot of great songs on this one, and it's really hard for me to narrow it down to just one. A few of my favorites, though, and major standouts on this one are Sleep. So this song just shows how powerful Gerard Way, the singer's vocals can be. It's got a very explosive chorus and some actually excellent hidden production techniques layered underneath it. House of Wolves has a fun jazzy beat.
I love a good jazzy beat.
Right? Yeah. And it's a really high energy song that they don't really match on the album. And then Mama is just a wildly insane song. Makes you question your own sanity. And as you listen to the song, there's also guest vocals from Liza Minnelli, who just adds to the creepiness level of that song.
It's a good album.
I agree. I don't have any tattoos, but if I were to get one, it would be the the album art. There's the little marching band dude.
The marching guy?
Yeah. I definitely want to get that tattooed on me somewhere.
That would be a good tattoo. I would support that. Yeah, I'm 90% sure I've listened to this whole album probably back in 2012 when this came? Not 12. 7-ish?
This came out in 2006, but yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The only ones I distinctly remember are obviously Welcome to the Black Parade and Teenagers. Good songs.
Yeah, those were two songs that really took off from this.
Those are the two popular ones.
But yeah, if you haven't listened to this album front to back lately, just do it.
I should. I will. I think my favorite My Chemical Romance song is Helena, though.
Helena's really good. That's on their last album before that.
But I can't watch the music video for it because it's what's his name? The singer just staring deeply into the camera, whisper shouting.
Right, yeah.
I'll listen to the song, but I can't watch the video.
That's fair. He really takes things to a new level with that kind of stuff. He's actually also the creator of the Umbrella Academy, if you didn't know. So a lot of the weirdness in that show is just, yeah.
I knew that Umbrella Academy was a pop punk person, but I didn't remember off the top of my head who it was.
Yeah, and actually a couple of the bonus tracks off of The Black Parade, so Kill All Your Friends and stuff, directly reference the Umbrella Academy. And I have this record on vinyl, and if you look on the vinyl cover, you'll actually notice an Umbrella Academy character on the album art.
It's good. I like the it's definitely later in the pop punk world with this.
Yeah, 2006 was a really good year for pop punk, and the following years after. But like I was saying, I really attribute most of the good years for the pop punk after this album came out to this album.
Yeah, Most of the pop punk I listen to would be like Blink-182 or like Sum 41, like early 2000s era. Something like My Chemical Romance is like the tail end of the stuff that I would listen to.
Yeah, even Sum 41 though has some influence from this album on their later work, like Screaming Bloody Murder. That's very Black Parade influenced. All right, want to move on to your number one?
My quote number one. I can't like not put this on the list. I want to say Starboy by The Weeknd.
Oh, really? Wow. Did not see that coming.
Really?
Yeah.
I was honestly surprised by this album when I first heard it. The only thing I had heard from The Weeknd is like I Can't Feel My Face, and then like this came out and people were like, oh, you should check it out, like it's a good album. But then I listened to it and just like Starboy and I Feel It Coming as the bookends to this album, both produced or featuring Daft Punk.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was the whole album. I know for sure, like, Starboy is featuring Daft Punk, and I Feel Like Coming is featuring Daft Punk. The rest of it might have just been, like, produced by Daft Punk.
Okay, yeah, I was about to ask that. I was going to say, I think he did this whole album with Daft Punk, didn't he? Or was it just those 2 tracks?
But I think, like, even just, like, the first 3 songs, Starboy, Party Monster, and then False Alarm, all have completely different sounds, and all of them, I say completely different, even though I saw a video recently where The Weeknd uses, like, 4 notes throughout all of his songs.
Yeah, not a lot of variety.
They still all have, like, completely different sounds and beats and, like, cadence, I guess, tempo.
Right.
And then halfway through, you get Sidewalks, which is, featuring Kendrick Lamar. Almost feels like a reset for the whole thing, and then almost feels like 2 mini albums, in my opinion. I really like Reminder because he's saying, like, it's basically him saying he doesn't want to be mainstream and, like, all this fame is, like, too much for him, almost.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like he's very hesitant to accept, like, all the accolades that he's been getting and everything he seems to kind of shy away from.
Yeah, and with that song, he's literally like, you guys gave me a Teen Choice Award for singing about being high on cocaine. Like, come on, guys.
Right. Like, what are you doing?
And then they played that song on the radio and it got massively popular and they had to censor every 3rd word.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that this is like my favorite album of all time, but it's definitely one that I've listened to many times, front to back, more than twice, like I said before, where I only listened to 2 albums like twice, but I've listened to this one many times. And I also just really like his voice. I think he's a really good singer. And Canadian, shout out.
Yeah, he's definitely very talented. Always good to shout out the Canadians.
His other albums are good as well. I've listened to his newest one was also really good. I forget what it's called. And then one before that where he's crying about Selena Gomez was also really good. It's literally like 6 songs about him being like, I'm sad that Selena dumped me.
Who isn't crying about Selena Gomez?
Yeah, that's why I've been saying it for years. Poor Justin Bieber, The Weeknd.
Should start a support group
Sheeran,
for people who have been dumped by Selena Gomez.
I'm sure they need all the support they can get. I'm sure they're struggling.
They can all just write an album together. And...
No.
Okay, so I have a couple honorable mentions for my top albums. Like, these albums I wanted to fit in here somewhere, but I just felt like my other choices were more personal to me. But a couple of honorable mentions would be A Lesson in Romantics from Mayday Parade, which is another pop-punk album. They've got 2 singers, so the sound kind of switches up, so very similar to the A Day to Remember thing, but Mayday Parade is kind of a lot softer. Then we've got Wrath from Lamb of God, just a fantastic metal album. And then Nothing Personal from All Time Low was one of the first albums that I bought with my own money, like after getting a job. So yeah.
I'll go through my list of other albums I have as well. Some of them are albums, some of them are just words. I have The Album by Blackpink.
Okay, yeah, no, great album. Frickin' bop.
I mean, I think one of the reasons I didn't put it on here is because I felt like it was too new, but I've already listened to it like so many times just because it's so short. Like, it's a half-hour album, I can just put it on.
Right, yeah, it's almost closer to like an EP rather than a full album. But
considering all the previous releases were like 4 songs,
yeah,
this like whatever. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, it's good, but it does follow the same thing where it kind of, the first time I tried to listen to it, I got like halfway through, it was like 1 a.m. and I was like, this is just, I can't tell what song from which. Most of the things I didn't include apparently are rap, because I wrote Run the Jewels, which I don't know which album I would pick, but one of them from Run the Jewels. And I picked Acid Rap from Chance the Rapper, which I think is, most people would think is his best. Or it's Saturation 2 from Brockhampton, the best of their Saturation series. They did 3 albums in a year. Nope, I was gonna say all of them are very different. They're not. They're pretty the same. It's almost like one big album.
Back to the releasing 3 albums in 1 year, Green Day did the same thing, and all 3 albums just, they sound the exact same, so like I just didn't see the point in doing that.
It's just like, instead of releasing a 60-track album, they just released 3 albums.
Yeah,
Yeah, then I wrote Anderson .Paak, which I don't know what I would pick for his favorite album, but I like his music. And then I wrote Because of the Internet, which is the Childish Gambino album. And I don't know if that would be my favorite from his, but it's a good one, and I like him. Oh, yeah, and you bring up Green Day. You were saying how Green Day lost their entire album.
Yes. Yeah.
That reminds me of how apparently The Killers were going to release an album.
Oh, okay.
Or they were recording an album, I guess. And they didn't like any of it, so they scrapped all of it except for Mr. Brightside. And that's the only one that actually made it onto the album.
Really? Wow. Well, that paid off for them.
I think it worked out for them. I think that's a good song.
My Chemical Romance actually did something very similar to that too. Before they released their last album, before they broke up, was called Danger Days. But before that, they had been in the studio recording something which they did eventually release as Conventional Weapons, which just sounds entirely different from what we got with Danger Days.
Who is that?
That's My Chemical Romance.
Oh, for sure. I'm surprised that none of your albums were the Bare Naked Ladies.
It's never the Bare Naked Ladies, although I was tempted to include the Digimon movie soundtrack, which does have the Bare Naked Ladies on there.
They're your favorite band, Garrett. You didn't even put them
Anyways, so that brings us to the end of our first episode. Do you have anything you want to plug or promote?
I was going to say, listen to the new Ariana Grande album. It's really good.
Okay, so let us know what you think of the show, what we can do better. You can find us on Twitter at @scratch_cast. And on Facebook at Record Scratch Cast, and on our website at recordscratch.podbean.com.
I guess you could follow my Twitter at Johanberg.
Thank you for listening, and bye.